I'm Deziel, and today I'm going to grade with you a commercial pattern. Here's the commercial pattern that I bought so I can show you how to grade a commercial pattern using my grading ruler. Now, since it's a vintage pattern and it was used already, it was also cut at the size 12, so that will be my starting size. Usually in the back of this pattern, you have body measurement chart. And for this one, since I'm doing a top part, I'm going to look at the measurement of the bust for the size 12. They're telling me that for size 12, I have in inches here, I have 26.5 inches, or in centimeter, I have 67 centimeter. So I wrote it down on another paper. For this example, I decided to take my own measurement. So I measure around the bust level and I found 101 centimeter or 40 inches. Now here's the little calculation you have to do to find out how much you need to grade. You take the body measurement that you found or that you need at the bust. I need 40 inches minus the measurement that was on the pattern. Now the difference that you found, you're going to divide it by 4. So the measurement that I found is the 8.5 centimeter or 3 3/8 inches. And I know we're doing a bodice, but to find out the color that we need, the easiest ruler to use is the skirt because it's a straight grading. So you take your tape measurement and just hold on at the 8.5 or the 3 3/8 inches. And you're going to move it. Try to match the beginning and the end to 2 colors. So if I try with the red, the 8.5 doesn't touch anything. I'm trying with the yellow, it doesn't. I'm trying with the blue, and this one is pretty close. So I'm going to use the blue as my basic, and I'm going to print out the last pink point. So it will be important that you know the little calculation, find out the quarter of the grading that you need, and you must do it for every pattern because all patterns, they have different body measurement chart, and maybe you are using a different size from one time to another. Now before starting the actual grading, I wanted to talk about a little point that is important. It's a visual thing I want to show you. It is what we call the nest point, is where you send all the sizes to 0. If you look at my grading ruler, I usually keep my nest point over here at the center front. So my neck point is fixed and my center front are fixed. But sometimes, like the pattern will do today, they kept the bottom part as their nest point. So see, I put all my sizes at the same 0 point, waist and center front. So it is the same grading, but visually it does look different because now my waist is straight and the grading is distributed all around. When you grade the pattern, you could start with any piece you like, doesn't matter. But today for this example, I decided to start with my front pieces. So I have the bottom and the yoke. And since we cannot pin, it would interfere with the ruler. And I think the paper is too delicate to tape it. What I suggest is that you just trace and put little reference here and there around the pattern. So if it does move, you could put it back at the same place easily. Now we're ready to grade. So you have to positionate the ruler the same direction as your pattern. Then if you remember, we were using the blue as the basic, and we'll point out the pink, the very last one, for the size that we need today. To make sure that I don't forget anything, I'm going to start at the neck and I'll go all around using the grading point that I need for this style. So now what we'll do, we'll take the blue point on the ruler, place it exactly at the intersection of the neck and shoulder of the pattern. I'm going to hold it with my awl and just make sure by pivoting that one of the line of the ruler is parallel with the grain line. Then we just have to point the pink for the new size. Now I just put a marker for this dot so you could see better. My next point is going to be the shoulder and armhole point because we don't need the dart. There's no dart on the pattern. So I just skip it and I go to the next one, placing the blue dot right on the contour of the pattern. I'm going to align one of the line of the ruler on the grain line of the pattern and point the pink size. I also put my point with the marker so you could see better. Now we're ready to do the next point that is going to be at the shoulder blade, and we're going to place that grading at two different places, one time on the yoke and one time on the bottom of the shirt. And we do it exactly the same way. We're ready for the next point, that is the underarm point. We do it the same way, so I'm going to place the blue right on the contour. I'm going to put my one of the line of the ruler parallel with the grain line and point out the large size. Now before to go to the next point to grade, I just want to mention that this grading that you see, the vertical grading at the underarm point, is an extra grading that I put there so you'll be able to grade your collar easily. At the neck, the grading is about 2 millimeters in each direction, but since it's a curved line, it doesn't really get bigger or smaller 4 millimeters, but it look more like a 3 millimeter, and that's exactly the grading that you have here, the straight line. Now we do the waist and side seam point. So I'm going to place again the blue right on the trace line, align one of the line with the grain line and point out the larger size. Now the last point, the center back point. So we're going to place the blue again on the trace line or the contour of the pattern and just indicate the largest size. Now we're going to start connecting the dot to trace the new size. And the first thing I suggest you to do is to verify to see if you have straight line that you could just connect with your ruler. For this one, I did check and I found that I have the yoke line on the bottom part. There is the bottom that is a straight line and also the shoulder. So I'm going to start by tracing my straight line. Now when I did trace my straight line, I also did a little bit of the bottom line of the yoke because as you could see, it's not straight all the way, it does go up. So I just traced the first part with my 90 degree. And now to do the curve, I'm going to start at the neck and go all around using the same technique that I show you with my cardboard block. So we'll place it, trace just for a little while, move the pattern towards the final point. So you move, you trace a little bit, move again, always look at the direction, trace a little more and all the way to the end. Now we're going to continue with the armhole and also the bottom of the yoke. So you're going to place your corner right on the new point and just touch the straight line with the pattern. Now you'll be able to trace the bottom line and also just a little bit the beginning of the armhole. Then for the armhole, you're going to move a little bit the pattern towards the top. See, I keep my point aligned. I'm going to trace for a little while, move again, and trace all the way to the top. Now we're going to trace the bottom part. I'm going to start tracing the armhole. To trace the armhole, you're going to place the corner of the pattern exactly on the new point and maybe trace for about a centimeter. Then what you're going to do, you're going to imagine a point between the pattern and the new point. You're going to move the underarm point on that point and use your pattern to continue tracing your armhole. I usually stop pretty much at the notch. Then for the last part, I'm going to put my pattern on the final point, touching pretty much the line that I have already, and trace the last part. Now for the side seam, you're going to place the corner of the pattern on the underarm point. Keep your pattern aligned and trace just for a little while. So my front grading is done. Now about the size of that pattern, you could call it the size you want. For my example, I call it a size 12 for Diane. In this video, I'm not going to have the time to do the complete grading, but as you must know, the back is going to be graded exactly like we did for the front. And the sleeve is pretty basic, so you could just use the grading ruler and use the basic point. For this video, I thought it would be better for me to show you how to grade collar because I didn't do it so often. What I suggest is that you fold your collar piece in the middle so we could grade only half of it. And just like we did for the bodice, I already placed my pattern and traced little mark on the contour, so if it does move, I could place it back easily. I did it for both of my pieces. Now I'm not too used with commercial pattern, but I did notice a little circle here and I did indicate it on the contour, and of course I will transfer it into a notch. The first thing we'll do is trace the center area of each one of the piece, top and bottom. Then you remember the little extra grading that I put at the underarm point of the bodice. I'm going to use this extra point to grade my collar. I'll start with the left side since already my ruler is placed, so the larger size are towards the left. I'm going to place the blue dot right on my trace line. Make sure that the grain line and the contour of the ruler is parallel and just dot the larger size. We're already going to do the same thing with the stand collar piece. So I'm putting my blue dot exactly on my trace line. Then I'm going to point the larger size. Now we flip the ruler to grade the other side. I'm going to do the same thing, put the blue right on the trace line, keep the contour of the ruler parallel to the grain line, and just point the larger size. We do the same thing for the other side of the stand collar. So I'm going to place the blue dot on the contour, keep my ruler parallel to the grain line, and dot the larger size. Then we're going to trace the missing part, the both sides, by moving the pattern, touching the reference point on top, and I make sure that the top of my pattern is touching my line that I already traced. I'm going to trace on one side, then I'll move the other side until the reference that I grade, and I will trace the front part that is missing. Now it is possible when you have curved line that there's little correction to the line, and in that case, when I have a space like that, I usually go right in between to trace my new line. Now we're going to complete the last piece, and we're going to do it exactly the same way, moving on each side. Here again we have the same tiny little correction that we do on the top line and the bottom line. Now you could write down your size. Again, I wrote a size 12 Diane, and don't forget that these pieces are now on the fold of the paper. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I see you next time.